All right, Mr. Josh. How have you been? What's going on?
Yeah, I've been alright. Mostly playing a lot of Fire Emblem Three Houses this week.
There you go.
Excited for the DLC coming out later.
What's the DLC going to be called?
Oh, I forget, but it's it's gonna have like a fourth house.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I saw some news coming out that you're gonna access it through the menus rather than it being a path in the.
It's like
story.
a separate expansion.
Yeah, kind of, and I think it's supposed to have a set amount of characters that you can use rather than the original game, where each house that you choose has a set amount, and then you can recruit from the other ones.
Okay,
but we'll see. It's coming out soon. February 12th is the scheduled release date for that.
Cool.
Yeah. Didn't play any Yu-Gi-Oh! At locals this week, but
That's actually a change.
Yeah, but did watch the tournament streams for the PPG Invitational over in Orlando, so that was fun. That was today and that was yesterday and today.
Nice.
I got to watch that. So, yeah. And then we saw Knives Out earlier this week.
Oh, dude, Knives Out was so good. We're not gonna do any spoiler thing, but it's good.
Just fantastic film.
Oh man, yeah. After watching so much garbage, it was extra enhanced. Like, it was genuinely good. But after fucking seeing Star Wars and Cats back to back before it, holy god.
You actually saw Cats.
Yeah, we did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not, because it made my video for that week. It made my video quota for that week, so it was easy. Yeah. But anyway, so there's that. Plus, arguably, it's possible I enjoyed it more than Star Wars, so I mean, there's that. Now, let's see.
To be fair, Star Wars is terrible.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Anything else, Mr. Josh?
I think that pretty much
We're rolling in
yeah,
fast, Mr. John. Coming in hard and fast. What's going on?
Always, baby.
Load.
It's a very lackluster week. I don't know. I increased my max weight to 275 on most of my lifts, so that's cool. Nice to get strong.
Yeah.
Playing a lot of Halo. Still playing Blasphemous and Uncharted, so that's cool.
Blasphemous is so good. Are you having any difficulty with it?
It's hard.
Did you get to the big baby?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That thing's nuts. Dude. I hate that thing.
Yeah, very slow week.
Slow week, Miss Mallory?
I didn't do anything but study for my test for my new job, so that's about it.
That sucks when it's one of those weeks where you just literally don't get to do anything else.
I didn't have any time to do anything, because I did my full-time job and then my part-time job, so literally no time other than to sleep.
I see.
How was your week?
It was pretty good. I can't help but think, though, it feels almost like you're a victim, Mallory.
Am I?
Not just a victim of the shenanigans of this podcast.
Oh, okay.
But one may say that... Oh, fuck it. We have Tim Cash on the line.
That is the best segue ever. Wow.
We have Victor Cash on the line. Tim and John from Victor Cash are on. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. How's it going? It was a good intro, man. I'll take it.
Halfway, I bailed only because halfway I realized I feel like I was going into like a PSA about like abuse or something, and I was just like, I'm giving up. I'm giving up on this.
I did not know what angle you were going for, and then I was like, oh wait, this kind of makes sense.
He's getting serious, right?
I was just like, I don't want to.
Turn me off.
Could have been an advertisement about cashing out on all your victim abuse.
Yeah, basically. So, go ahead, Ms. Miller. Do your thing.
All right. So, how have you guys been? How's your week?
Week? Oh, man. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Let's see, you're talking about games. I got an Oculus Quest this week.
Oh,
and
the
minimum age is 13, so naturally I gave it to my 9-year-old to play. So she was all great, and I went upstairs. I was like, okay, you have to go to bed at 8:30. I'm gonna set an alarm for you or whatever. And so then 10 minutes later, she was like crying because she was playing this game Moss. You heard of this game Moss?
It's the one with the mouse, right?
It's really cool actually, but she's not very good at video games yet. So I have to go and help her sometimes. I'm like, okay, I think if you're crying, you probably need to take a break. But she seems to be really into the VR stuff, so I'm happy about that because I'm into VR stuff. So.
Yeah, VR is one of those things where it's always the tangibility of it's always argued. I've heard very good arguments for the state of VR, whether it is in a good place? Is it actually there? Is it not there? And after hearing several arguments of both sides, people that I know and trust their opinion of that have spent a good amount of time in it seem to really enjoy it, and it does seem like a viable medium for quick bursts of gameplay. Like it's definitely not what the 80s imagination of VR is, where we're spending hours at a time in this world. Like when we talked about that dude who spent like a week, not a week, but it was like however long in Minecraft, like for like
the equivalent of a week in Minecraft.
The equivalent of a week in Minecraft, which is a pretty long time. And did it all in VR, and that was all crazy, right? It's definitely not there because there's too many symptoms of people getting sick or
none of that lawnmower man shit going on.
Basically,
lawnmower man, yeah, I was just lawnmower man.
Yeah. So,
I'm scared movie reference.
But it's certainly refined enough where stuff like PSVR, Oculus, and everything. And first of all, I do want to check out Oculus because that's the standalone one, I think, with the memory card for a minute. It's really cool that they're really shifting it to not be tethered to because like when Oculus and Vive first came out, you needed like a 2G rig, to run that where it didn't look all pixelated and shitty in your VR headset. Now with stuff like the Quest, it's like a lot more less setup, less bullshit, everything out. Because you used to have.
I saw a picture this morning of a guy playing it on the beach.
Oh man!
So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, you can play it pretty much, and you don't even need they're making it to where you don't even need the controllers anymore. You can just use your hands for everything. So literally, you can pop that thing on your head.
Time.
Interesting.
And I mean, the thing that pushed me over the edge on it was, the main part was that I don't have to have two headsets to play the things on the PC anymore because there's a link, the Oculus Link works now.
Oh,
so I can play
cool.
Skyrim VR or whatever on my PC, but then I can still play. It's more convenient to play the Quest games because then I don't have to. There's no setup.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I like about it.
Which is really nice, and you have some games that have some really weird requirements. I can't remember exactly what the name of the game was, but there was one where it is multiplayer, but each of you needed like the full-fledged Oculus. It's like, how many people are just gonna have all just, guys, bring your Oculuses over and fucking let's all play this fucking, the amount of space, you would need a whole room set up just for that, because like they were just saying, and like I was saying, the nice thing about the Quest is that lack of setup, because you really need it all calibrated, and you do need a lot of space for that thing to work properly. So it's nice to see it starting to come. Anyways, the whole point being is that it's starting to become more viable, which is nice, because I do think that VR is an interesting endeavor in the sense that, like, obviously escapism and fantasy is a lot of things is why we like to play video games. So to add that element of, extra element of immersion and the fact that it's starting to come to fruition to a realistic sense instead of just like the Virtual Boy, which is a complete piece of shit, obviously.
Virtual
Boy's the shit.
Yep.
Which is why, everyone...
Hope you enjoy migraine.
Yeah, or blindness.
Here's your Virtual Boy with some complimentary aspirin.
Yeah, basically.
I mean,
so there's that.
I'd be really... Well, so I spend way too much money on synthesizers to actually ever afford like any of those things at the moment. But... Man, when I was looking at, was it Alex? Well, I guess not technically Half-Life 3, but that looked very compelling.
Yeah,
man,
that's the
you're going to make me spend a bunch of money.
Yeah, and the thing with Half-Life Alex is that has such a mixed, an obvious mixed reception that like you can think of as like why people would be mad is because you wait all this time for Half-Life 3 and then you get fucking spin-off bullshit. Yeah. Now, the game itself is probably going to be super cool. Valve is outsourcing the development of it to like I forgot the name of the team is. But Valve isn't doing it in-house, so this is going to be the first Half-Life game that's going to be kind of past. It's published by Valve, but technically developed by whoever else that, because Valve doesn't really know how to do a VR game, so they didn't want to risk Half-Life, that big stamp on there being their first fuck around in the VR world, so they were just like, we want this to be good, so this has to go into the hands of a company that knows what they're doing. And that company did, but when I looked at their publishing, it's mostly VR games. And so that's interesting, but then I definitely see the disappointment side. However, on the flip side of things, it'll be very interesting to see a very modern Half-Life, because it has been so long since the last proper Half-Life, and to see, it looks like it's going to be a very good VR game. It's just, will it truly sate the Half-Life fans thing, and the whole thing behind gating your sequel, not just to a certain console, but to like a totally niche currently niche
Very
format
niche.
that's pretty expensive. You have all those people, of course, that are on Twitter that are just like, well, just buy a VR headset then. It's that simple. And it's just like,
Bro, no one on Twitter has money.
It's
Yeah,
just
because you got the video card you need to get. Like, you need a decent computer. I mean, you're basically spending.
Yep.
Like, I know exactly which synthesizer I would buy instead of all that gear, and I'm like, that's pretty. I don't have one.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one, and it's not cheap. So, like, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I know not Half-Life Source, right? But the sort of re-release of Half-Life 1. I played the beta of that, and that was pretty good. So maybe that'll get me by because I think it's finally finished.
Yeah, I think so. Half-Life is a good series. I feel bad for those people who... Like, I'm a big fan of Deadly Premonition, which 3 people on Earth have played, and that's getting a sequel.
Yeah.
And people aren't getting Half-Life 3. This is the world we live in, where my super niche game came back from the dead, got ported to Switch, and arguably was never alive, technically. I say back from the dead. People can argue was never had a pulse. And is getting a full-fledged sequel with all the Nintendo monies at their disposal is insane.
Man, that's crazy.
Yet, Half-Life 3, this fully beloved thing that tons of people have played, or Half-Life in general, is not getting Half-Life 3 proper. I think if I'm gonna be, like, very... I would say uncharacteristically forgiving of Valve, I would say that perhaps this is their unnecessary litmus strip test of like, is there still hype for Half-Life 3? Yeah. But I feel that like all you had to do was open your eyes and you would know that so many people are so down for Half-Life 3.
Still see Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Yeah, all those memes that come out, like it's just crazy that like if this is what they're doing, it's a totally unnecessary
just
test.
adding it to the string theory.
Has it been longer since like Duke Nukem 3D? Because that was quite a drought.
Oh, that's actually it was longer than that. Like we're getting to the point where Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 15 X versus 13, and Duke Nukem Forever, and Duke Nukem 3D also, which also took a long time. All those things have come out what's going to be arguably quicker than Half-Life 3 at this point, which is just, this is the world we live in. Like, the people who waited like 12 years for Kingdom Hearts 3 had it less rough than people who are waiting for Half-Life 3.
I think it's been more than 12 years, I think.
For Kingdom Hearts 3? When Kingdom Hearts 3 launched? I thought it was 12. Because it was...
It's been a while. It's been
you know what? 12 years
2004?
was for 15, I think, and then I think it was 14 was for...
Because that came out when we were in high school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
13. It was 13 years. Just letting you guys know.
So
Speak up, what are you saying?
It's 13 years.
Oh, okay.
So 14 years.
For Kingdom Hearts 3.
There you go.
Just letting y'all know that.
Well, whatever. No one cares about Kingdom Hearts.
Thanks, Wikipedia.
I'm just kidding. I know. I'm just saying that to trigger you. Go on. Go on.
All right.
Do your thing.
All right. So, to let our listeners know, what type of music is it that you guys play? I know what you guys play, but can you tell our listeners what genre you guys are in?
I guess pick an era.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because we're kind of a conceptual. Well, maybe John, you can explain it better. But like all our albums are different, and that will probably continue. Except I think when we finish this one, because this one's different than the other two, I think we're talking about going back to maybe a sound like our first album, which is a very chiptune surfy thing, or going more back to chiptune stuff than we currently are. Because we're using a lot of analog synthesizers, and we're using some chiptuney stuff in the current album, but not as much as the previous two. But it's still kind of rooted in this kind of game concept, so we think it'll be pretty good, but it's taken a long time for us to crank through that thing, so yeah.
So basically, the first album was, did you ever heard of that band Dick Dale and the Deltones?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, okay, thank you. It's as if Dick Dale was playing video games. That is the first album. The second album is it's more like if not exactly Willie Nelson, but
That's
more like
John.
You heard John Prine. You guys know who John Prine is?
Yeah.
He's like this kind of Americana guy from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it sounds like he's playing video games. Okay, so now you're kind of seeing like a theme here. So basically,
the consistency.
And then in this recent album, which we've only released a couple of songs from, it's really more like we just went back to the 80s and watched a bunch of Miami Vice. That's basically what it is.
That's exactly what it is. Half of band practice is watching.
Yeah, basically it is.
Awesome.
I mean, the third album is kind of a synthwavy sound. So I mean, it's kind of popular. It's not why we picked it. We just had this stack of synthesizers, and we're like, well, we haven't used these things in a while. So we should probably do that. So we still occasionally use the Game Boy. It makes an appearance. The Sid from the Commodore 64, that's in actually almost every song off the current album.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I don't think it's on the current album right now, but the Nintendo, it's because they're all square waves, right? But they have just different sounds that are really hard to just do on a modern synth. You need the vintage gear to make it sound like a vintage thing. So really cool. We try to use those to reasonable effect. But probably in this album, it's the least chiptune album of the other two for sure.
Okay.
That's dope.
That's awesome. And then, how did you guys get into making music this way?
Well, I guess we met in college, right?
Yeah, there's no guess. That's a fact.
And then Tim is just this synthesizer hardware nut, and I'm kind of the opposite. So it kind of just worked. I don't know. We started playing together, and then I don't know. I wish there was a better story for that. Well, I guess we named ourselves Victim Cache because there was it's like we're both computer scientists by training. So we so we did when we were doing our undergrad, I think we both had operating systems at some point, and they had a Victim Cache is an actual thing on the computer. Mm-hmm. But so we decided that sounded like a pretty cool name. Since we're both computer science people, then it made sense to call a band that. That's really the best. We don't have a great story
Well,
I met Tim on a cliff in front of the ocean. And it was
yeah, it was like that. It was on the lawn of UT. It wasn't. It was in CS3.
Was that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, but whatever. But yeah, for the band, we used to do when we were both doing undergrad, we would we'd sort of jam out to random stuff, and I didn't have synthesizers as much at the time, but I came up from sort of the demo scene. So, the Amiga, kind of the Commodore 64, but that was sort of before my time. And mods. So, Mod Tracker, Screen Tracker, Impulse Tracker, Bat Tracker, all these PC tools that would let you make music. And so that's kind of where I came up when I was sort of too poor to afford synthesizers. And so we started on that. And then I moved back here to San Antonio, and then John was doing his post-grad, and then he came back, and we're like, oh, cool, we should do a band thing. And so we spent a long time, we started jamming out like we did in college, and it kind of went places, but we really, what makes Victim Cache work, I think, for us is that we pick, a theme, and sometimes that theme can involve, sort of limitations. That's why we like the chiptune stuff, because it really forces you to be creative when you only have, on, the Nintendo, for example, 5 channels if you're being creative. Really, it's 4, and there are limitations to those. On the Game Boy, it's 4, and there's even more limitations on those. And so I think one day I was just screwing around with Family Tracker, which is a PC-based tracker you can use to program these things. And you came in, John, at we were starting practice, and you're like, dude, I have this idea. And then it was the surf thing, and we're like, okay, we'll try it. And that ended up being a really good formula. We're like, holy shit, this is amazing. And so that's kind of how we approach every album. We try to find a concept. The first album was natural epiphany, I guess. The other 2 albums have been kind of still pretty natural, but different.
Well, the second album, we went a little bit different about it, because I think we came up with the sound of it. But the whole thing was originally planned to be based upon this fictional RPG. And so we planned out the story of the RPG. And then we wrote a bunch of songs about what was going on in the RPG. And then we were like, well, why don't we just make the game? Which, that must have been 6 years ago now, because it's taken that long.
Way too long.
But yeah, so we actually made the game that was the sort of the concept of this second album. And so now, I guess on February, we're going to release it on February 12th. Mm-hmm. So you can download it and play it, and be really grossed out by it at times. But it's it's basically it's an 80s. It's like a parody of a bunch of Japanese RPGs from the 80s, as though there was more booze and drugs and awkward sex in them.
I watched the trailer on Steam, and it was...
What was it?
I watched the trailer on Steam, and I just could not stop laughing. It looks so good, and I can't wait to play it.
Oh, great. I'm glad someone is laughing at it. I'm happy about it.
Yeah. Parental advisory is certainly advised on that one, but it was
well, you know, sometimes I tell people, like, oh, yeah, I made this video game, and I told this, like, it was a friend of my daughter's, and I was like, yeah, it's like you can't play it because he's like 11 or something. I'm like, you can't play it because it's rated M, but it's like this 2D video game, and he looked at me, he's like, you made a 2D video game that's rated M? What's wrong with you? I was like, yeah, I know.
I mean, it's been
pretty much that's an RPG, but it's a really the thing I like about it is that really when you play the RPG, you see a lot of the story that we wrote, but the album itself sort of they're companions to each other, and I think a good chunk of the songs are in the game, and then some songs are game specific that we didn't write like a full thing to, but the story is like really kind of interesting when you go sort of through the album because it's sort of story driven, which is rare these days, I guess. And then the companion to the RPG is the RPG rather is different, but it really is. I mean, it's kind of tropey, I guess, but it's a really like I'm proud of the album for sure.
Tropey. It's intentionally tropey.
But the story that we built around it, I was like, man, this is pretty damn good for like kind of what we came up with. And then the other thing we wanted to do with the album that was the other thing we wanted to do with the album that was different is the reason it's so different, I think, from really the first and third is that we really wanted to play it live because it is a story-driven thing, and we were reasonably successful at doing that. Like it was.
Well, we played around a few places, but it's just like it's so time-consuming to go and set everything up at places and play live.
Yeah, and we figured out we can't write albums while we play live. Like we really had to pick one or the other, and so we're like, man, we really want to work on another album.
Really good. Yeah, so we started. I don't even like to look at the file, like the file created times, because it makes me like just depressed that we started this like six or seven. Probably the album was like 6 or 7 years ago. You know?
Yeah, the second one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just. It makes me feel so freaking old. You know?
That feel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what you guys are talking about because. I'm not there yet.
You're not that old yet, but you'll get there. You may be a young child now.
I will always be younger than you.
That's true.
Age haunts everybody. Wait a while. But that's what makes the RPG like really fun because like it's mature, I guess, but like it's in some ways it's kind of freeing because it's sort of ageless, right? Because we want to add like some humor in it.
Technically, exactly. Technically, it's mature, like it's rated M. But it's really immature.
Yeah, understandably. Yeah. It's kind of funny how that works out a lot of the time. Like, rated M for mature, but it's probably the most immature shit I can probably think of.
Like Conquer.
Conquer, exactly. Conquer's probably the epitome of, like, taking that to the extreme. That was one of the earlier examples of that, too, because wasn't that on N64?
Yes,
it was.
Which is... That, if you think about the era and some of the humor in that game, that was wild.
Yeah, especially considering it was from Rare that made the so adorable and beloved Banjo and
You're going to like this guy.
Yeah. Banjo-Kazooie, Rare worked also on Donkey Kong Country, right?
Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then here comes Conquer's Bad Fur Day, which is almost an amalgamation of that stuff, but like to the extreme adultness, which is crazy. Because there's some shit on that you could argue... If they really pushed it a slightly bit further, it could have gotten an adult rating. So I'm sure they cut out some stuff to like be careful with that.
Oh yeah.
So, but
all right. So what is y'all's favorite video game of like all time?
Oh god,
man. I'm gonna say Final Fantasy VI.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Respectable choice. Yeah. Respectable choice.
Yeah, and if you want to get fancy, the Japanese retranslation, I guess. But I've never played that one completely through. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that would be. And I wish. I don't want to spoil the ending, so I won't in case anybody hasn't played it. But man, I wish it would take some work. But I feel like that would be an amazing sequel if Square Enix was a different company. Like I think they're just too. The reason I like that game is the graphics were gorgeous. The graphics are just amazing. The music obviously is it's a thing that at least I myself, I don't know about John, but like I would say, Victim Cast probably doesn't aspire to it because we do different things. But like. Nobuo is like an amazing composer, and like that was just you can't. It's hard. That game's amazing. So,
Yeah.
but the ending wasn't necessarily my jam, and I was like, yeah, they could bust that genie out of the bottle if they wanted to. And I know Final Fantasy VII is coming out, and that was also like, I'm kind of hyped about that one, but
I am, yeah.
that Final Fantasy VI was just so many good elements and story. Like, there's not many games I cry to. That one I definitely did, and I know a lot of people did for Final Fantasy VII, but since then, not really. That game did it for me.
Yeah.
And then, ironically enough, there were things that Final Fantasy VII took from 6.
Yeah, there's that for sure. And then another cool thing about 6 is that was like a great way to go out because that was kind of the end of that classic Final Fantasy era. That was like because 7 and on became a completely different beast.
Yeah, that was when the what's his name Nomura era started.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because you really can kind of slice up Final Fantasy into a few different eras, I would say. Because you could even separate 1 and 2 almost as their own thing. Then you got 3, 4, 5, and 6 as another era. Then 7, 8, 9, and 10 as another era. And then 12 and on. Well, 12 as kind of its own thing. 13 and all that.
Because I think Yoshitaka Amano did the character designs from 1 through 6.
Okay.
And then when 7
I was actually
when Nomura took over.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't segregating it by art style. I was segregating it by gameplay style because 1 and 2 is definitely different than 3, 4, 5, and 6 in terms of like mechanically how the game. They really started changing it from there. I would say, especially for those, the tech got better, and then you have 13 where the graphical capacity probably reached some of its peak, but then the game was just trash.
The interesting thing about, like, I guess 6 is it's one of the reasons our game looks the way it does, because we really, like, originally we were going with sort of Dragon Warrior-esque theme, because it kind of would have fit a little better. We had that going, but then the engine that we're using is kind of more specific to sort of Final Fantasy, but, like, kind of the story, I think we took more, inspired more by sort of Final Fantasy, down to, like, if you listen to some of the sound effects, because we did essentially nearly all the music, and I don't know how many stock sound effects we used. We tried really hard to, like...
We didn't use any... I mean, everything's been heavily changed. If it was a royalty-free sound effect, we'd bit-crush the hell out of it.
Yeah. Cool. But there's some generated sounds in there, too, that I had to make, like, in Family Tracker, and, like, they sound kind of similar to what you're going to hear in Final Fantasy, and that was definitely on purpose. Like, that was giving them a perverted nod to how good the game is.
Doing your own Foley work and shit.
And then the other favorite game?
Yeah, and then John, your favorite game?
Oh, yeah. So I don't have as cool of a retro favorite game because I'm just going to go by like the number of hours that I spent playing a game. Mm-hmm. But I think I spent I don't even want to know how many hours it was, but I spent so many hours playing Oblivion, and then I modded the crap out of it, and then I played everybody else's mods, and so I've got to go with Oblivion. Or I could almost go with Skyrim, but I didn't play it as much because I got too busy and I got a real job. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, because I didn't want to get fired for playing Skyrim. Although I did just buy Skyrim VR. Oh yeah. I haven't played it yet because I have to actually get a computer that will play it. But yeah, so I'll probably get fired for that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome though. I gotta say, as many times as Skyrim's been ported, Skyrim VR actually is a pretty cool port. Like that's a pretty badass version. They put just enough love and care to make it different. Like the differences that they do put into it is it's appreciated. Like it's pretty cool that they took this pretty much already built, game that's been pretty old at the time VR came out, but then just added those perfect tweaks. Like it's really cool how they did it. But
and then what was your favorite song to record for both of you?
Oh, I got an answer. Go ahead, John. You go first.
You go first. That's what I'm thinking about it.
Oh, really? You don't know? Oh, okay. Mine, and I'll try to keep the story short, but it's definitely off our first album, and it's one of two. It's basically the two that are on our 7-inch single, and you can imagine why they're our favorites. So I'd probably say Genesis Machine. And I remember when I had to record the Game Boy sound, so I had to record it in my closet, because you can't, to record the sounds of like you putting the cartridge in and turning the Game Boy on, you can't record the direct sound off the Game Boy. So that kind of started it. That one's definitely my favorite, for sure, at least off the first album. I mean, the second album I really liked, because we had more people kind of in a band that contributed some stuff. It was Landon and Katie, and they're both awesome. Katie in particular is a wonderful musician. She's a violinist, and that was really good time. So I definitely have a favorite song of that album, but I'd have to say all time, probably the Genesis Machine, or maybe Tsunami Gaiden, which I think is on the 7-inch. I should know that. But
Yeah, it is.
It is, yeah, I thought so.
That's a good point. Man. Okay, so that album, the whole album is actually, of all the albums I've ever recorded, our first album is the only one that I can actually listen to, like music. Is usually like I can go back if I listen to I don't listen to my own music generally because it doesn't sound like. It's like I hear it differently than a listener would because I hear it like it's like, oh, I remember when I recorded that, or I remember when I fucked up those vocals. But I can actually listen to our album, our first album, which I kind of like. I don't listen to it that often, but so probably on that album, so I think Tsunami Gaiden is probably my favorite one on that one. On the second one, if I had to choose, I gotta go with Killing Slimes on that one, and that was actually one of the most fun to record.
Fun to play too. That song.
Yeah, it's
awesome
just a real fun one to play, and yeah, I'd go with that one.
Okay. And then, do you guys follow any creators on like YouTube or like anywhere?
I used to I'm not as much in the chiptune scene as I was. We were part of the Texas Chip stuff for a while on the second album, so I'll still tend to follow some of those folks. The RushJet1, he's on Bandcamp, and then his scene name was Vert, and now I can't remember his real name, but he's the person behind Shovel Knight and his soundtrack, and he's been doing music since the 90s. So I follow him. I follow Iris Music. They're a synth pop band, and I like them because I met the guy virtually on IRC way back in the 90s when he was also in the demo scene, and that guy was amazing back then. He did a lot of the songs to Unreal, like the first Unreal game, Epic's first game, and Unreal Tournament, and so you have heard his songs, I'm sure. And then he sort of formed the synth pop band. So those are, follow me is not the right word. I guess you could say those are influences I admire that kind of relate to the band. There's so many good chiptune artists though too. I could sit here forever naming them. Those are probably the ones that come to mind sort of immediately that I keep track of and generally buy their albums when they come out.
Okay.
The only thing I'm really following right now in terms of musically is basically anything that new retro wave label puts out, because I'm really into synthwave right now. I guess because it's because we're recording a synthwave-ish kind of album, but that I can just a lot of those things I can listen to for a long time.
Well, actually, on that note, Carpenter Brute and Perturbator, those are really really good synthwave artists. I think if you're gonna pick one synthwave artist, though, I would pick one of those two. Just flip a coin.
Hell yeah.
Okay. And then, what challenges have you guys faced while making this game?
Oh, fuck.
John can't spell. That's one of them.
That's a major problem. I can't spell. I'm really bad at grammar checking, and so that's a problem. Although I finally figured out how to use a spell checker, so that helps a little bit. Honestly...
Marketing, right? Marketing is a pain in the ass.
Well, yeah, marketing is a problem. It's a pain in the ass because we suck at it and we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, at least we have we have degrees in computer science so we can program, right? But outside of that, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So the marketing aspect of the game, which really we came into really late, which is really, I mean, I could probably give a lecture on how to not make a successful video game rather than how to make a successful one. Just because it's, there's a lot of things we kind of ignored for a long time, including spelling and marketing and what else? I'm trying to think what else is hard.
Well, marketing is weird too because we tried to do the whole streaming thing and we're not good at that either.
Oh no, we're not good at that either.
Yeah, I mean, you can see some Twitch streams. They're still around, I'm sure. You can go, and some of them we put on YouTube. But it's such a for being creators, and there's just two of us, right? And we I would love to have band practice more than we do, right? But we both have day jobs, we both have like careers and stuff, both kids. So the amount of time we can practice is generally pretty small. And for the first album, I guess this album as well, like it kind of works out because we get together and we write the lyrics and we kind of block in the sound or a song, if you will, and we're like, oh, guitar might sound cool here. John will sometimes pick up the guitar in my house. It's actually his guitar still. Play around with some stuff. So we kind of like
it there on purpose because I'm too lazy to bring it
yeah.
with mine. But
It's an amazing guitar for what it is, but because it's horrible. Like it's amazingly horrible, but it's great. So like we do that, but then we
I paid $70 for it from my drummer's little sister in high school.
I mean, it's like cracked, right? It's gonna break at any time.
Yeah, it's the lightest guitar. It's so light. It's beautiful, but it sounds like shit.
Yeah, so we'll do that, and then we'll kind of go independently. He'll record his vocals and his guitar work. He's basically our front man, for lack of a better word. I'll record the backing vocals and like tweak the synthesizers because I have all the synthesizers, so I tend to do that. So we basically co-block out the songs, if you will, and then kind of go do our own thing. So that helps. It does not at all help with marketing because like you can't market one day a week, right? That's like impossible. So like it's a lot of work to do it, and we're just not good at it. Ultimately, the first album we got lucky because I think where like Reddit was like a thing, and we kind of got a little bit of like virality, if you will, I guess, and it kind of spread in this kind of interesting way. We lost probably all our fans on the second album because it was so damn different, and we probably did it again on the third album. So like that's a huge challenge for us.
Yeah, that answers my question because I was going to ask that. Like the genre shift can definitely not necessarily a full genre shift, but like half the genre, like the mixing this with that. That's got to be really it's the experimentalness of nature of it.
Oh yeah, we make jokes about it at practice all the time. Like when we're like, oh, this is going to alienate our audience. Well, all right, whatever.
There it goes. You're getting start over.
Fuck them, right?
No, but yeah, that's kind of what happens. But I mean, that's how we work creatively, right? Because again, we go back to these limitations. There's a problem early on too, because like when we didn't have these limitations, we're like, we can use all these virtual synthesizers, all the real synthesizers. I don't have that many, but I have a decent amount.
It's getting more and more every day.
A fair amount, yeah. We use all of these things, and you never find this sound. Like you basically get lost in space, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so kind of putting things on rails really helps us, but it also means that we could be focused, but it's nice that we can kind of find different like passions across these albums. And there's like a common thread between them. Not enough to keep the same audience, but it's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right then. So before we get into the news, let's do the channel plugs. Mr. Josh, where can everybody find you on the internets?
Twitter and Instagram at Joshiro Joestar. YouTube will be Shiro Play 5.
Mr. John?
I'm Evil Dead Guy everywhere, so just type that in.
Miss Mallory?
You can find me on Instagram at awesome_Mally.
You can find all my stuff at ZDRocker, all the videos at SlimationEntertainment.com, and the podcast at DisconnectedCast.com. And Mr. Tim and John, where can everybody find the Disconnected Cache? Jesus Christ.
Oh, no.
The victim cache. Oh, Lord, what just happened? Mallory lost her phone. The victim cache stuff, where can they find all that?
Victimcache.com, so it's just victim and then CACHE.com. And pretty much you can find everything of our stuff off of there.
Always nice to keep
the Steam, you can search for the RPG there.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you want to go directly to music, it's just music.victimcache.com as well. And
awesome.
we're kind of on Twitter, but it's like it's very rare.
We're really bad at
yeah. Again, going back to marketing, so like it's there. Probably don't use it.
Right.
It exists.
Understandable. And of course, we're gonna link those down below for everybody to check out. Okay, so one more thing. Good friend of the podcast, IQ, just recently dropped on his birthday. Happy birthday when we record this, but obviously this is going to go up on a Saturday, so like super past all that. His album did drop, Anita Baker LP, Triple L is now out, so everybody can get that at eyeq.bandcamp.com. Make sure to pick that up, name your price, but definitely support him as much as you can. Really cool dude. Recently his PAX, sad we missed him, but there's that. There's always other times. He's in Austin a lot, so we'll come check him out then. And, what are you pointing at?
Never mind.
You want another beer, Mel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you just scream in the middle of the podcast? You're just making your play. You initiated
technical foul.
There you go. Speaking of technical fouls,
are we gonna do that now?
We're gonna dedicate this episode to Kobe Bryant and his family because that was heavy, man. As especially, you know, I kinda loosely like football. I do like the World Cup, but I actually really like basketball. From being in varsity basketball down to watching basketball a lot.
In the NBA,
there was a lot of really cool stuff. So what the fuck are you talking about, Joe? This is a really bad bit.
I'm using
just talk in the middle of the Kobe Bryant eulogy.
I'm sad.
But right.
I'm depressed.
So
Kobe died.
What was the thing we talked about in the group chat about when someone's talking? It was what was it called? The shut the fuck up rule? No, anyways. Anyways, Kobe Bryant died, and as well as his 13-year-old daughter, which is really sad. Also, to all the other people who were undisclosed that were the other 6 people that were on there, rest in peace to everybody. It's a sad time, but especially if you're, even as a basketball fan, even as a Spurs fan, even when Kobe would piss you off by being so goddamn good every single time you go against the Spurs, you got to respect the guy, and he was definitely one of the best of our time. I would argue, if you're going to say Jordan's number 1, Kobe's easily number 2, untouchable as far as that goes.
Timmy don't have an Oscar.
Yeah. All right, time for the video game news. Let's get even more tragic. So, first of all, YouTube signing an exclusive contract with Activision Blizzard.
Gross.
Satan meeting Satan in the world of eSports. So Overwatch League and Call of Duty eSports, as well as anything Activision Blizzard, is what the fuck? What are we signaling in the middle of the podcast? Okay, is to be fair, you guys aren't doing what I complained about, but you guys are. It's this new charades thing in the middle of the podcast, and I'm trying to talk, and everyone's playing charades with me, which I appreciate it because you guys are trying to not interrupt it, but it distracts me even more. But anyways, so Activision Blizzard, avid Hong Kong haters, as well as people who made games like Overwatch and Call of Duty, now have all their esports stuff is exclusively through YouTube now. No more Twitch stuff or any of like that. So if you're into Overwatch League or Call of Duty esports, there's the place to watch it now is YouTube. To be fair, you're on there already a lot probably. So you can not mix it. It just centralizes your esports. But it's interesting to see those two disgusting, businessmen make their dirty love on top of esports. So there's that. Not that I give a fuck. I mean, Overwatch League is a mess, to be fair, and so there's that already. Call of Duty, well. And there's that. So it's interesting. I think that at least they're not, at least as far as the article explained, they're not paywalling it or anything. It's still all open to watch, because there's YouTube Red, there's premium YouTube content, as well as for those who just want the ad-free shit. To me, that is already worth it. I have YouTube Red, and I don't ever watch that shit. I have that shit for no commercials.
Yeah, no ads.
Whenever someone watches a YouTube video and a commercial comes on, I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Because I haven't had commercials on my YouTube in I think it's 4 or 5 years now for me. So I honestly keep forgetting that there are ads on YouTube. So I'm just like, what the hell? What the hell? But anyways, so it's interesting. If they do, however, decide to gate it behind YouTube Red, that would be really fucked up. Especially for people who just want to watch their esports, which is pretty much almost always usually free. That would be a really shitty thing to do. That would be
It'd be par for the course.
It would be, but that's just that shitty argument to just say it's normal. Microtransactions, it's fine because that's already... You can't just say status quo as an argument is just bad. It's a bad argument. So yeah. Tim, John, any of you guys esports people? You guys are too busy for that, obviously, but it's just the obligatory ask.
We did Twitch for a while. That's where we put some of our games. So I watched it occasionally. I never... not as much, but I am. I was getting back into WoW. I have very little time to play games, but I was getting back into Classic, and that was right when the Hong Kong thing hit, and I was like, "Damn it, Classic is so good, and I'm gonna stop playing it." Which I did because easy for me to do because I didn't have much time to play it anyway. But that kind of sucked. So it pains me. I was just thinking a couple days ago too about how much more awesome Blizzard was before Activision. But
that's true.
That's my opinion, of course. But yeah, the whole YouTube thing kind of bums me out because the monopoly on creator content. Because I look at stuff more than just like music on that thing, and man, the cornering of the market and like the stuff that they're doing to creators sucks. So.
Yeah, it's really bad. You know, we definitely talk about it a lot, being content creators ourselves, and with that being the case, you know, yeah, it's really messed up. Not just you have monopoly, but now you're just trying to see how much you could police everybody and abuse everybody in your little village that you forced everyone into, because you know, as you know. Vimeo may be cool, and arguably their HD is some of the best HD you can get, but it's also at a premium. And who are you gonna? We already talked about that before, also in the sense that it sucks because when you shoot somebody a YouTube link and you tell someone to check it out, even if they meant to scroll up the text and accidentally hit that YouTube link, pretty much most modern phones have YouTube pre-installed on there. It'll open it up. Some people are the type to just be like, well, fuck it, I opened it already. I guess I'll just watch a couple of seconds of it, or then it might make it interesting and go from there. If you hit a Vimeo link, all it'll do is either open your browser, which will already annoy the person, or if they have, I probably am the only person I know that has the Vimeo app in this room, like, on their phone, probably. So with that being the case, exactly, see? And there being a problem is, I'd be the only person to open a Vimeo link and it actually plays in the Vimeo player, right? Everyone else would be like, oh, goddamn, what's up? The browser window, what? Like, stop it, you're annoying. Why did you send me that link, you asshole? That's the reaction that you do get from that, which is sad, because video is a cool platform. And that's the thing. And Josh made a very good point one time when we were talking about this. Why isn't there just so easily, why doesn't everyone just jump to another video platform? Because, as he mentioned, to get through all the region shit and all the rights to get to show stuff in, you know, in China, in India, and all these places that have more strict guidelines for what they can and cannot show over there. If you don't have the manpower and the big company money to throw to get that shit approved in all those countries, they're just not going to. And when you have a funnel in which your YouTube's this big international enterprise and you're fighting them, but you can only show your shit in the US, you've already kind of fucked yourself.
It's a really huge uphill battle.
It is, yep, which is a shame. You know, it's why some people go to the... It's going to sound funny, I know, but you do have content creators who have gone to the alternative to try to get past YouTube by uploading their shit on stuff like Pornhub. And it does sound funny because, yes, it'll put you there, it'll visit ads, people will question maybe your search history if you go there a lot and you swear you watch video games. But it's why you will... Not that I ever go there, but it's sometimes when you are on there, allegedly... you do see stuff like video game uploads, music videos and stuff like that, because it's people trying to get around the caveat of being on YouTube. Yeah. Kind of the only real option is to be on stuff like that. It's what it is. It's just...
I heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard like that they were the company behind Pornhub was like seriously considering, because you know they have a gigantic content distribution platform already, because that's what runs the internet. Yep. And so like I'm surprised at them and Vimeo that neither of them have the capability. They just don't have the business model. And I'm like, dudes, you're so close, close.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they definitely have They already have the groundwork done. Yep, it's just that uphill battle stuff to get it more expanded. Especially Pornhub fights the stigma of being a porn site, and Vimeo just fights obscurity, and that's the thing. And then all the stuff to get up there. Yeah, no, it's a real shame because you kind of wish you did have that alternate platform, a choice at least. Your Burger King and your McDonald's. It's like, I could go to Burger King, but if I don't want to get stabbed, I could also go and get a quick meal at another restaurant. It's tough. It's tough because we don't have much of a choice. Like, when I did the YouTube walkout thing, in which I made sure not to watch any YouTube stuff, which was tough because I do watch a lot of YouTube, and I didn't upload during that week on protest. It was tough though because other than going to streaming sites to watch proper shows or this, if I wanted to watch the dumb quick viral video or a quick music video, I was kind of fucked because I couldn't really go on anything else. I couldn't go on what is it?
Dailymotion.
The what's the shitty music website that always pops up and it's like, oh, watch your favorite artists. This website, fuck you guys are no help. Anyways, it's Vivo. There you go. But that shit's owned by YouTube also, so I couldn't go there because I would be cheating and playing the system. Right. Because Vivo's just alternate YouTube and it's owned by the same people, so that would just be like playing fucking bullshit game and being like, oh, I'm totally protesting, not, and then being on there. So there's that. Ridiculous amounts of money. Bullshit. Okay, yeah, sure. So, EVE Online, been a game for a while. No one I know has ever touched that game. It exists and has a lot of players, yet I've never met an EVE Online player. Someone recently on there shot up a bid for a special rare ship on there, but it was for charity. You know, people spent money on dumber shit. $40,000. Now, when you shoot out a number like that, in which you're playing a game in which the thing doesn't exist that you're buying, you know, it's like, oh, this fucking WoW mount, I'm gonna buy this for $40,000 fucking dollars. This is the thing I always wonder when I see posts like that, or I see like, there's a few streamers I watch where this dude just throws like a few $1,000 at them a week. And I think to myself, I go, what the fuck do these people do for a living? And that they're just able to, like, their little MMO that they play, $40,000 fucking US dollars on a fucking ship. Just like that. It's just like, damn, like, you didn't flinch or cringe when you fucking did that? Like, you know, even thinking of making even much more than quadruple what I make, I would still flinch at spending $40,000 on anything. Like, that being said, what's the most you guys have ever spent, if you have, if you haven't, good on you, what's the most you have ever spent on bullshit e-currency or perhaps a cosmetic in a game? What's the most expensive thing you ever bought?
Do you mean cumulatively or?
You can do it cumulatively if you want to. If you can't think of a one like thing. For example, let me just start as an example. Probably at least $1,000-something I spent on loot boxes in Overwatch. Right. For me, that would be it. Having spent over $1,000 on loot boxes in Overwatch, and I realized I had a problem in post. There's that.
Like, I'm pretty sure by now I've probably at least spent at least a few hundred on maybe like dual links.
Okay, yeah, see, like that.
Yeah. Probably over maybe at least 100 or 200 with Overwatch from the small amount of time that I played it.
Mm-hmm. You got Mallory, John, before we get to the guests, any ludicrous amounts you've spent on a game before?
I think maybe the only thing I've ever bought from a game is I spent like $50 accumulatively over the time I played Pokemon Go.
There's that.
It was like
no, that still counts.
The community boxes.
Oh, do subscription fees count too?
Well, I don't know. Oh, I actually know how much I spent on Pokemon Go. I spent exactly $76.89.
There you go. So there you guys go. John, Tim, have you guys ever spent an exorbitant amount on a video game that you like?
Oh, sure. So, John had to put his kids to bed, so he stepped out. But so I'll answer for him first. I think I know he spends in the real world a bunch of money on Transformers.
Oh, okay.
Like the plastic ones.
Oh, nice.
So he does that. That's his thing. I don't think he spent a lot on the Skyrim stuff. I know he plays that religiously though. I haven't spent a lot of money on like loot boxes. I spent some on like League of Legends because when we would do LAN parties amongst friends I've known since like middle school, we'll get together. I'm not actually a huge League of Legends fan. I'm bad at it. It's not my kind of game, but I've spent money on that just to get the right character so we could, so I could lose, basically.
I'm ready to lose.
Yeah, pretty much. But I have, same group of friends too, I spent certainly not the most amount of money relative to other folks I played with, but just like WoW, I played Magic the Gathering, the real game, off and on.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Good amount of money tied up in that game.
Yeah, if we're gonna go to TCG territory,
we're sticking to video games and microtransactions within video games because it's why.
Microtransactions not a whole lot for me, but I usually the games I like to play are like stuff like Half-Life. Like I tend to play a little bit more single player stuff, and when it's multiplayer, my jam is Unreal Tournament. I love that game.
So good.
I mentioned it earlier, and like right now, Epic is super devaluing the new Unreal Tournament they're making.
Yes, they are.
And they're like sitting on I mean, the game is just so gorgeous, and it is as fast as the original. Because the other sequels to Unreal Tournament were always slower to me. They were slower and bulkier and weird.
Right.
But this one is properly fast.
Yeah.
Without all the mods, even just like stock. And I love that game. So I could see if like they were going to do loot boxes for that game, I would probably, of the games I spend microtransactions on, it would be Unreal Tournament.
Understandable, yeah, I could see that being a thing too, and that's the scary thing is they know it's very monetizable because that game is awesome, so you could definitely see that. Okay, Untitled Goose Game is in potential talks to be making a Lego set, so we'll see if that agreement comes through. Then there will be official Lego Untitled Goose Game, which is interesting. That's definitely one of the that game faced the biggest issue of becoming overhyped. A great game that was perfectly fine that some people didn't end up enjoying because of everyone wouldn't shut the fuck up about Untitled Goose Game, which is a shame because everyone wasn't too far behind me this time when I was talking about it. They were kind of like, because sometimes I'll talk about a game like The Witcher, and everybody hears about it 10 years later. And then so with this case, people were more like a month behind, but it was one of the things I just started seeing this post, and I was just like, dude, I'm excited for this game, but now you're making it really like sound kind of unappealing because you just every single hour on top of the hour, it's just another meme that's just a cut and paste of the last meme that's just the same shit. Anyways, Legos are cool. Untitled Goose Game's cool. Don't step on it, although it'd be very apropos for the asshole goose to do that to you. So they'd probably put a Lego under your foot if he could, which is really cool.
Then how much longer for Lego Untitled Goose Game?
Oh man, that could be, knowing them, probably, right? I mean, I could definitely see that being a thing. God, Lego cats. No, anyways.
No, don't even speak that into existence.
I'm gonna tweet that at them later.
No.
Captain Tsubasa, a game that has been a series that's been going on since like goddamn fucking PS2, I think, if not earlier than that.
It was PS2 that you mentioned.
Yeah, I think it was PS2 was where the very first Tsubasa game was on. Finally getting another random out of nowhere, getting a cool PS4, Switch, and PC game. Very cool. If you like soccer, but FIFA's a bit too boring for you of a game, all that simulator bullshit, and you kind of miss the day. Like, you know how WWE games suck ass now, but they used to be really badass. Like, they used to be really fun because they were more arcadey, and now they're simulation. Who the fuck wants to play simulation of a sports game? Like, it was like NBA Jam was cool because it's the most bullshit thing. Old wrestling games were cool because it was the most bullshit thing. Captain Tsubasa is that solution for soccer fans. If you want, I mean, you're talking about doing cool charge shots where the thing's on fire, the goal's like fucking, the goalie's basically catching and doing Hadouken with it.
They have like
there's
their
like all sorts
stands
of
or
like,
whatever.
yeah, they basically have stands. It's basically JoJo.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I never saw the actual anime, which is based on a long running anime. It's like one of those really long running ones, like
a Hajime no Ippo kind of thing.
Basically, where it's just been around for fucking forever. So it looks really good though. Aesthetically, it looks really nice.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see another anime like the Fairy Tail RPG. It's nice to see another anime game that isn't just that dumb Arena Fighter bullshit thing over and over again, like fucking
Jump
all
Force.
the nonsense thing. Jump Force, the biggest piece of shit game. That game has so many defenders and I don't get it. That game fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's trash.
I bought it just so I can say it sucks because it sucks. I own it. It sucks. Like, it's really bad. First of all, the trailer was a big lie, like many of those games. They make it look way better than it actually does. Then you get it, and it sucks. So there's that. Project Mara, from If People Enjoyed. So for those who never played or don't know they've been playing Ninja Theory games, because you probably played at least one, either DMC, which not a good DMC game, but one thing I've always said is it functions fine. It's a well-made game, just a bad DMC game. And then, of course, Hellblade's Asuna Sacrifice, awesome game. Very, very cool. Of course, notorious for having that very controversial Jim Sterling review, in which he gave it the lowest score ever. He gave it a fucking 1 out of 10.
But that was a valid reason.
It's a valid reason, though, because the game fucked up on him, and it was his copy. He had to have an epiphany and had a very interesting sit and think. I think he was right, though, because you should judge the game in the sense of what happened to you in your personal experience. And the game broke on him terribly. Anyways, they're making a new game called Project Mara, or at least that's the placeholder for now. It's going to be... Looks interesting. Asuna Sacrifice was a very interesting game where it wasn't a horror game, per se. It's not like Agony or that one we watched with the Nordic thing where you play as the beast and you're trying to get revenge on the people that are poaching your people. Not Elden Ring. Elden Ring is the fucking FromSoft game. Anyways.
Oh, the Tolkien one. No, wait, no, George R. R. Martin, yeah.
Well, that's Elden Ring. The one he's talking about is the one where you're the beast. And
you're
going talking about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get these now.
Yeah,
but yeah. They're making a game called Project Mara. It's too early to tell if it's truly going to be a horror game or if it just has horror aesthetics. Because again, Asuna Sacrifice, very heavy thing where like if you show people a screenshot, it looks like a horror game, but if you play it, it's definitely not.
It can be creepy at times.
It can be, but I wouldn't say it's a horror game. No. This one, from the teaser, looks like it's going to be a horror game, but it's hard to tell right now. I'm very interested. Ninja Theory is a studio that I've joked about a lot because they ruined DMC for me in the sense that they made a bad DMC game and made DMC 5 take forever to come out. But as developers, they're pretty good because again, Asuna Sacrifice is pretty awesome. I just don't like the name of their studio either. Ninja Theory just sounds a little lame. It sounds like something I would have thought was cool when I was in fucking middle school. Ninja Theory, it's like a ninja that listens to Linkin Park.
Well, Oh, yeah,
That
how
sounds
else do you
even cooler
train?
now that you say
A ninja that lives in Linkin Park. God damn it.
Oh man.
Okay, so there's that. Project Mara, cool stuff. John or Tim, if either of you are there, did either of you guys play DMC or Sasuna Sacrifice or Hellblade Sasuna Sacrifice? Any of their games in the past?
Not that one. No, I think a friend of mine that, a friend of mine is into, I think, more, might be thinking the wrong genre, because he's super into, like, not just JRPGs, but, like, Japanese culture in general. That's, like, a huge thing for him. So he plays a lot of, like, kind of interesting, obscure stuff, like, you know, obviously the RPGs, like Persona and stuff, but, like, also the crazy shooters. So he probably would. I don't think John and I have been exposed to that, but, of course, our game history also goes back, like, we go all the way back to the Nintendo. So, like, our prime game time in our adulthood is skewed slightly.
Right, understandable, definitely. Let's see. Fallout 76 is in the news again, and it's an interesting thing because it's trying to be a positive spin on it, but I have my speculation. So here's basically what happened. For those who aren't familiar, I'm not going to go through the whole Fallout 76 saga like what I did with Shubs and Bill, although that was hilarious to hear their reactions of just how fucked Fallout 76 is. But going to their latest kerfuffle, in which they closed out 2019, during Christmas time, they had a glitch in which people were just able to steal from other players. They were just able to open them like they were inventory. And this was also happening on the non-private servers, which is hilarious because I joked about my speculation then of it potentially being their way to push private servers, which had also been marked as previously used as stuff had been looted already. So clearly they're just recycled instances of other people's games. Well, someone supposedly, you remember when Stadia had all those fake accounts pop up and they were the Stadia Defense Force and they were trying to no one really gives a fuck about Stadia, but those fake like accounts with like one follower, all of a sudden Stadia's good, better than Project xCloud, and it's just like, yeah, sure.
Stadia ambassador.
It seems like we have another one in our midst in which they claim, this person, I'm not going to call them out by their username, alleges that Bethesda not just returned every item that was stolen from them somehow. I don't know how that would have been tracked. Like, you would have to dig through so much code to track that. But even gave them some nice bonuses, like extra currency and a few cool items that are a bit, kind of rare.
Post them receipts.
That's the way. So not just that, right? That's true. If no one else comes out and says this, did they really... It's one of two things. Either this person's a bullshit lizard person, or Bethesda did help go out of their way to help one person to spread the good word of Bethesda. You get what I'm saying? Right? You help that one. You're a real dickbag, but you help that one old lady across the street. The few people that saw you help that lady across the street probably think you're an upstanding dude, but
the good
people know.
The people know, right? And I think that's the thing is that, like, I think it's one of those two things. Either this person's a complete bullshit liar, or Bethesda did help one person to start this little spark of, like, we're not a bad guy.
No, is this
because they've really fallen out of everyone's graces.
I assume you saw this on, like, Twitter or something. Is this a verified account, or is this just a rando?
No, this was just, I think there was a Polygon article and a Kotaku article about it. I mean, it's not like I don't go to Twitter for news. This is an actual news podcast, not a Twitter podcast. I go to real sources for my stuff. But, yeah, anyways, so that happened, and again, I just think it was I think it's bullshit.
They legit gave people mold, so I don't think I could.
Yeah, they were trying to kill people's mold. That's true. This is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it die.
Yeah.
Just let it die.
Like the people that put on that helmet.
Yeah. I mean, also going into that, if it was from a verified Twitter account, that would probably be even more shady, because if you're verified, you're probably some kind of influencer.
Yep.
Exactly. So that would be even more shady.
You're Todd Howard's cousin or something.
Yeah.
My dad worked for Bethesda.
Yeah, now I would say if it's from an account that has like jack shit followers, probably bot. It probably is just some random fucker anyways. So.
Yep, and that's the thing. I think that as I say this more out loud, it's such a Bethesda thing if they did help one person just to try to get viral news spread about themselves.
Just like how they're
trying to save the game.
Just like how they decided to, wet a few whistles in the crowd.
Exactly. Yep. The fact that they are known to get their whole
free
hype
drinks,
crowd.
courtesy of Bethesda.
Yeah, they give out. They hand select people to be in the front, and then they bribe them with drinks to say good stuff about Bethesda during the Bethesda conference. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Did any of you guys play the trash fire that is Fallout 76? Did you guys even bother?
Why?
Uh-oh. Is that it? I don't...
Did we lose...
I think...
Tim?
I think they may have truly become victims.
Oh, you're talking about us? I'm sorry. I heard you guys, and I was like, oh, is that us? No, actually, I was kind of interested in it. I don't think John. Actually, I'm not. I don't know if John was or not, because I mean, of course, he's huge in the Skyrim, but he didn't ever seem to be like a huge Fallout guy. I backed the Wasteland 2 Kickstarter back in the day.
Nice.
So that was kind of my jam. I was like, oh man, it's like the real Fallout 3, like not the Bethesda version or whatever. And, like in terms of like it's still 2D, you know, I don't know if it's isometric, but it's like still got the old school feel. A friend of mine tried Fallout 76 for like a month, and I didn't hear anything. So I was like,
yeah,
that gave me a clue. So I mean, it seemed kind of cool, but yeah, it wasn't. I was interested in it, but after I kind of saw some like the stuff going down, I was like, I mean, it's not Blizzard bad, but I was like, my game time, like I said, is like super directed. So like I usually can't play games that are like have a tendency to have bullshit. That was one of them. So yeah.
And speaking of bullshit, Destiny recently also having some fun stuff going down. So Destiny is a game that has the biggest identity crisis on Earth. You know, first they were going to be this 10-year RPG that lasted about 2 years. Then they made Destiny 2, so they already gave up on that model. Then they thought about having a subscription-based model. Oh. Then they forewent that, and then went the free-to-play model. Mm-hmm. Shadowkeep was alright, but left a lot of people a little disappointed in terms of, for a relaunch, they expected almost a Taken King caliber of quality. It wasn't. Mediocre gear, very repetitious missions, even more so than what you'd expect from an RPG, which is arguably just running task bullshit anyways. So with the new one, not too bad. People rated the expansion a bit better, a little bit better gear. One weird thing they did, though, is for the upcoming content / current recently released content, they had an ARG. Now, when you do an ARG, you want to probably assume that the prize is typically something pretty good, because ARGs are, by design, typically supposed to be rather difficult to crack this code, and you got to get all Sherlock Holmes on it, if it's a well-done ARG.
What's an ARG for our listeners?
Augmented reality game. They did the same thing for how they revealed Sombra, and it's been done before by many companies in the past. The Slenderman viral way they kind of did that, you could argue, was technically an ARG, the bees thing when they try to find the whatever. That led to that. So it's been done before, but the way that Bungie did it for Destiny was they did a few cardinal sins of what people don't like in once again, you're playing a role. You know, when a role-playing game starts to make calls for you a little too much, it's like why some people didn't dig Sekiro, because it's not, even though you also have the people who argue, well, then it's not technically a role-playing game. It also technically was a role-playing game in which you were assigned this character, but it was hard to play that role because you didn't design them, and it is this fixed guy in a fixed narrative doing a fixed goal. They did that kind of thing, in which, so once you solve the whole thing, right, and you're supposed to go to this thing. The first miss is they kind of hint that that one of the swords from Destiny 1 was gonna be brought back as this new design thing, which was kind of cool. That wasn't the prize, though. That's the thing you can get, but that wasn't the prize. So it almost alluded to that being the prize, and then didn't.
Was it Grimoire?
Then what they do...
I was going to say, is this that nonsense again?
Then what they do is, you find when you beat the mission, the NPC goes up to you and goes, hey, this is your favorite gun, and gives you the prize gun, which is not even the best gun that you can get, nor is it that. It's like, fine, but it's no one's favorite gun in that game, so they don't even give you what would arguably be the meta, or what would be like a really cool thing to get at that thing. They just give you like a middle-of-the-road gun, and they also just go, oh, here you go, it's your favorite gun. It's like...
The Hawkmoon?
It's like... you would like say that is your favorite gun, right? And then you assume...
love that gun.
Yeah, so say that's your gun, right? And then that's your favorite gun, but then they give you fucking some other bullshit.
Here's the level 1 gun that you started the game
right.
with.
Or something like that. That's the thing in role-playing games that I hate, is when they just assign shit to you. Like, oh, this was your favorite food. Fuck you. No, it wasn't. Like, you can't tell me what my favorite food was.
I have a peanut allergy.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was really weird. So, Destiny hovering in the okay. It's no Anthem, and it's no Fallout 76 in terms of trash fires. But it's, it goes to the argument of, is sometimes being mediocre is sometimes not that interesting because not many stories come out about Destiny in terms of no one really talks about it. It's not amazing enough to talk about. Like when Apex drops the new season and some interesting things are happening, that comes back in the news. Destiny's been dropping content over the last year, and no one's really been talking about it since Shadowkeep came out. It's just kind of been
I thought Shadowkeep was the last thing.
Exactly
did,
right,
honestly.
and a lot of people did right. And then you have hilariously bad, where Anthem and Fallout 76 are such broken pieces of shit, but you damn hear about them a lot because of places like this podcast and just media in general, because they are that bad that people are kind of keeping an eye on them. And so you're kind of doing the weird, you're doing the dirt bites thing where you're kind of like, I'm watching the good games and the really bad games. And you kind of forget, you know what I mean? You lose sight of it. And that's a shame because Destiny's not a bad game by any means. It's just an okay game. And
I love Destiny, though. I just don't have time.
You're allowed to be wrong. I know. That's the
thing.
I
love Destiny.
Play Destiny on my PlayStation a lot.
So there's an obscure
I have a lot of
game.
fond memories with Destiny.
Yeah, I did. Destiny
Same,
1.
yeah.
Destiny 1.
2 seems just kind of like it's there.
Yeah.
Man, 2, there was a lot of hype when I first played it, but it was definitely that honeymoon period of a bad marriage. Because then after
Which was for me the beginning of Destiny period.
Boy,
because when Destiny first came out, I was sleeping 3 hours a day to play that game a lot.
Yeah.
Then after about 2 weeks, I realized there's nothing else to do in the fucking game.
Yeah.
And then I was like, fuck this game. So the honeymoon phase ran out, and I was just like, I wanted to play.
I have spent days doing nothing but sleep and then trying to do a raid in Destiny 2.
Yep.
What do you have it on?
What? I played on PS4.
Why does it matter? You have crossplay.
Really?
And now.
I don't fuck. I just got back on gaming. Really?
Okay, next topic.
Crossplay?
Well, if you listened to a disconnected cast, you would have found out that I talked about that shit several episodes ago. Anyways, now you're good. So there was an obscure game called Kingpin that came out a long time ago. Didn't hear of it? Don't worry, a lot of people didn't. It was a really edgy, gang first-person shooter by 3D Realms. You've at least heard of 3D Realms. Duke Nukem, obviously. Kind of think of Duke Nukem's really edgy cousin. Obviously, Duke Nukem's known for being a bit edgy already, but this one was more trying to be dark, grim, cussing for no reason, a lot of really edgy stuff.
Like hatred?
Out of nowhere. Hatred could be argued that was just a big PR swing and that they made it like that on purpose and it accomplished its goal. Everyone talked about it.
Yeah.
This was not that because obviously no one talked about Kingpin. What system did Kingpin come out for?
I don't know, but I love that movie.
Exactly. So, Kingpin is somehow getting a fucking remaster. 3D Realms recently announced that they are going to be doing a remaster, Kingpin Reloaded, and it's supposed to come out in the second quarter of this year. It'll be interesting to see if they make it any better. Because it's not a bad game. But again, it's just unnecessarily, it's just boringly edgy. It's just oh, wow, a lot of cussing. Wow, no game fucking cusses. You know what I mean? It's really, it's the kind of thing you probably would have thought was cool when you were little, especially if you were trying to hide from the cussing from your parents. It's if you weren't allowed, let's say you weren't allowed to watch South Park and you did, is that kind of thing. Except South Park's awesome. And this is kind of forgettable, but yeah.
Funny enough, I was banned from watching South Park as a child.
Were you?
Is it Kingpin Life of Crime? Is that it? Or no?
I don't remember if it has a subtitle, but yeah. Anyways, another game came out recently. It's in early access still technically, but Temtem. Did anyone hear about that game? Is anyone on that Temtem hype? It's an MMO.
Sounds familiar.
So Temtem is an MMO. I think you'd really dig it. You guys we'd all probably dig it, honestly. So if we all got in on that PC life and played that shit, because it's only on PC right now. Temtem is, are you still looking up Kingpin shit?
No, I'm looking at Temtem.
Oh, good. Yeah. Sorry, I assumed this was last episode.
I like that, the Pokemon.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So Temtem, here's the premise of Temtem. You're all in this world together and you're traveling around and you're trying to capture monsters.
Like Monster Rancher?
But it's in this little virtual card thing. Imagine Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon the card game, but Yu-Gi-Oh! is a bad example. Imagine Pokemon, the show, and when they trap them in the Pokeballs, you could translate that as what the TCG is. So you kind of have that, if that's how they captured them, it would kind of have that level of immersion and stuff like that. That's basically how you would catch them in this game, and it seems really interesting. The art style is pretty cool. It's it's anime or whatever. You can show Josh if you want to, just to show what
it looks pretty dope.
It's what you it's very bubbly. It's got pretty bright stuff. But it's in early access right now, and it's on sale. If you buy it through Green Man Gaming, you can actually get a discount on it.
I know, right? It's like
normally $35 is going to be the asking price, but if you get the code on Green Man Gaming right now and you get the discount, you can actually get it for $25. So you can get $28, not quite a $10 discount, but a good discount on the rest, especially to get into something that looks really promising. If Pokemon could have pulled off the whole MMO thing in a really good way, this is kind of like what that probably would have become. Yeah. So it's cool. It's cool to see that. So like I said, especially like say we all got and we all agreed to get. I know it's cute, right?
It's so cute.
The monster design's pretty cool. It makes me very nostalgic for the earlier Pokemon. Not that some of the new Pokemon designs aren't that cool, but this being the first game in its series, it has that very early thing where it's creative enough. You take a cute duck and you color it in the right places, platypus, and it's really cute.
Oh my god, that is fucking adorable. I want it.
Normally, I don't plug the game themselves in terms of linking them in our things, but I will link that below because that is a game I'm very curious to start playing. Pat from Castle Super Movies has been playing it. Says pretty cool, pretty polished for an early access game. Usually, early access games, as Jim Sterling will tell you, usually shitty and trash. This one seems pretty promising. Directly focusing the question to Victim Cash. Do you guys have much of a Pokemon background? I'd imagine, considering the scene, but don't want to assume.
I mean, I don't. We don't. I have how many Game Boys I have? I have like 8 Game Boys, something like that. And I don't have a single Pokemon cartridge of the original because those things are expensive now. You can get them on like we have a multi-cart because that's what we use for LSDJ when we make music on it. But so I could play Pokemon on a Game Boy if I wanted to. So yeah, I mean we're into it. I think we both watched the shows. John's like super into anime cartoons of like all like ranges. I am too, but I never have the time to like sit down and like watch them. The kiddo is, so he's interested in Pokemon. And then both our significant others were playing the Pokemon, the augmented reality phone game. So we have, which it's cool to me. That's when I think of Pokemon, I think of like way back like the original Game Boy version because of course we're chiptunes and we like vintage stuff, but I will say the kiddo, we have 2 of the Pokemons on Switch, the latest one and the one before that, and so he's been running through that. So I pulled it up, the game you were talking about, and it does look actually pretty cool as well. Like it's got like a neat graphic aesthetic.
Yep, it's really cool. So, and that's the thing, is to take something that obviously will make you think of something else, but have that right twist to it where people don't just call you a ripoff. You're a clear homage, but people don't call you a ripoff because that's a very, very fine line I've seen people walk very well and very wrong, is doing an homage to something. Because I've seen people call it an homage and it's just a ripoff, and I've seen things where it is just the right like touch of, I see where your influences definitely are, but you are so unique. And I would say that Temtem is one of those things where I'm starting to see that it might give credit. And if it really does continue to grow, which is why I think it's a good thing to support in early access, first of all, to get in there on the ground zero, which would be really cool. But on top of that, to help these guys grow. Because if they can do this as this pretty obscure game right now, with the right funds, I trust these guys, not being a big corporation, to put it just right. And how cool would it be to have an indie contender as a rival to Pokemon, this big corporation thing, and then have this thing fly well beside it? I wouldn't say they would necessarily fight each other, because, it's hard for an indie studio to go up against fucking Nintendo and Pokemon Company. But to see something innocent and young in its stages like this, but so much heart put into it despite being influenced by something is really cool for me. I'm really, really happy when I found out about Temtem. Like, it's pretty awesome.
It's definitely derivative.
T-shirt of the platypus.
Oh, that's really cute. But yeah, like I said, we'll talk about it off cam. But if you guys are down, I would be interested in trying it out with everybody. So we'll see.
I think it wouldn't be as successful if Pokemon hadn't shit the bed as they recently did.
There is that too. Speaking of shitting the bed, I got to come clean. I started playing Sword again. Now, by playing Sword, let me tell you exactly how far I am into it. I almost have my first Pokemon.
I don't know what that means.
It's very, very early.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm about to go get my first Pokemon. I've had the game since 2 weeks after launch, and I'm about to get my first Pokemon. That's where I'm at in the game. So I have about 5 minutes logged.
You're gonna get Grookey, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grookey game!
Have you seen the new?
Sobble.
Have you seen the Dynamax? The new Dynamax for it?
Oh, I haven't. Is it cool?
It has a drum set.
Yes. It was my spirit
Like
animal.
a full kit?
My
full drum kit.
Of course. Oh yeah, Grookey was a good call.
You have
Because
to name
I
him
do play the
Neil.
drums. So huh?
You have to name him Neil.
Oh, I will play. Oh, you know what? Solid. I don't normally nickname my Pokemon, but I will for that. Yes.
Respect.
Very cool. For respect. DOA 6 launching its fourth $80+ season pass.
Jesus.
That is a
Still?
game that
Fuck.
no one even complains about anymore because they've always been the epitome of terrible microtransactions, but did it with no shame. I would say little shame, with no shame. That they just say fuck it, and because of that, since they never really tried to defend themselves, nobody really harps them about it because they just don't care. It is crazy. If you want to actually own every piece of DOA content in either 5 or now 6,
Pay hundreds of dollars.
it's a shitload of money. And if you were to do it a la carte,
Oh yeah. If you do it a la carte,
you should never do that. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Wait till they're on sale if you want to do it a la carte.
Exactly.
So,
Let me look up real 6. The real quick rather. The DOA 5 buying DLC.
Oh, God, yeah,
I want to see how much it was overall.
So while you're looking up that,
Go ahead.
there was a time where I was on Dink's podcast, and they brought that up, and like they don't really follow DOA, but 6 was got pretty big. A lot of people were talking about DOA 6, and they brought that up about the season pass. They're like, that's ridiculous. Like, why would anybody buy this? And I was like, well, that was actually the business model for DOA 5,
Yep.
and it was very successful. They did quite a lot of season passes for DOA
they
5.
did. Okay, so I got the answer. If you were to buy piecemeal a la carte all the DLC for DOA 5, you would have spent $1,300 plus tax.
Yeah.
Plus tax
Jeez.
on DLC if you bought it each by piece. Now, granted, you're still spending about $500 even if you bought them the season pass, but you still save 50%. Am I right? And the scummy thing that they do, just
Look
to
at the
top it all
savings.
off, top it all off, what they do too, and I hate it, is they get some of the coolest costumes. And you can only get them by buying the season pass.
They have
so
really
even
good
if you
crossover ones.
spent the $1,500 on DLC, you're still missing some of the coolest costumes because you didn't buy the season pass.
Yeah.
Genius.
It's fucked.
Yeah, no, DOA 5 had some really good crossover costumes that
did.
I liked. And
As well as the discontinued Attack on Titan stage. If you did not buy it at the time, the rights ran out. So they cannot sell the Attack on Titan DLC or stage anymore. So if you got it, you got it. If you don't,
fucked. I kind of wish I did jump on
you
that.
can still use it,
Yeah.
It was per the agreement.
Yeah, so every time I had like some spare cash and there was a costume set I would buy it. I'll give it to them. They had me booted up for a while just to like dick around and like see the costumes in action.
It was cool. They even had fucking was it not Capcom versus SNK, Tatsunoko? Is it?
They did have a Tatsunoko one.
Yeah.
They also had BlazBlue and Guilty Gear
Those were cool.
costumes. Yeah,
I got the Guilty Gear ones because fuck yes.
Yeah, they had some
Tempest,
pretty
my
good
boy.
crossover ones. I don't know if they've done any yet for 6. Yeah, I mean it clearly worked with 5.
Did they ever bring the Spartan back?
Shut up!
They're
never doing that again until they may.
Bring Spartan 458 to Smash.
This guy. All right, so speaking of stuff that'll actually happen, I was talking to Josh about a game that I really like that's going to be coming out on the 29th, so everyone should definitely keep an eye on it. I mentioned it before, Code Shifter. I'd mentioned that game before because it's going to have JJ Backfield from JJ Backfield, blah, 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 Swery, one of Swery's games. But here's the really cool thing. So to give everyone a better synopsis of what the game is, you play as what's essentially like this, it's a platformer, but you play as this girl who's like, have a boring like insurance job or something like that. And so to escape, she just has this really vivid imagination and you're going to go play. But what do you do? So it's by Arc System Works. As you go through, you switch between all the Arc System characters. So to get through a certain thing, you might switch to Soul Bad Guy. Then you might switch to Kaikisuke to do another thing. Then you might switch to JJ, because it was, even though it's a swear game, was public, it was done by Arc System. So any of the Arc System stuff, gonna be in there, with the exception of fucking DBZ because of rights reasons. But all the Arc Sys original stuff, it's all nods and throwbacks, and there's gonna be a ton of Arc Sys references and everything and all that stuff. So it looks really cool. $15 comes out on the Switch exclusively on the 29th. So definitely go check that out. No. Really gonna be really cool. I know you love your Arc Sys, so I think that's something you're definitely gonna enjoy. So that's why I thought I would elaborate more so to pique your interest in what it's gonna be. It looks really good, and of course, Arc Sys, support Arc Sys. You must. They're saving fighting games, like they honestly are. Where Capcom dropped the ball, Arc Sys is just like, give me that shit and ran with it so hard.
Capcom majorly dropped the ball. Fuck.
Yeah. Which is a shame, because when we were growing up, like, Capcom and fighting games, that was, like, synonymous. Like, good fighting games, rather. That was synonymous. Like, you're just like, who's gonna make a fucking badass fighter? Fucking Capcom. Like, you know, I love my my King of Fighters. Well, I was gonna say Fatal Fury, but I didn't get into it when it was Fatal Fury. I got into it when it was King of Fighters. Yeah, you know, but I would be lying to say that back when I was a child, I was a big SNK guy. I wasn't. I like Metal Slug, and I like King of Fighters later on. That's about it. That's the only SNK title I think I really played when I was young. A lot of was fucking Metal Slug.
What is SNK? I've seen that. I don't know what that means.
It's a company.
SNK.
You know what Capcom is, right?
No.
So that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, King of Fighters, Samurai Showdown.
Like a brand. I guess it is a brand.
It is a brand.
I didn't know it was like a company, like a production.
It is a company.
Yeah. The Neo Geo.
What is that? That's a game system, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that.
Anyways. Yeah, no, it's sad that we live in a world where Capcom, who is very famous for the hyper versus fighting games, they can't even do that right. There's two different studios that made a better Marvel game than Marvel did.
Right.
So
one of them being Skullgirls, or were you going to say something else?
I guess we're going three. Well, I mean, that was Skullgirls was before Marvel vs. Infinite.
That's true, but
I'm talking about the shit that is Marvel vs. Infinite. Like that.
So Marvel vs. Infinite. What are their two biggest rivals that did it better than? It was
Dragon Ball. So Dragon Ball Fighters, and then the Power Rangers game.
Oh, I totally forgot about Battle for the Grid.
Yeah,
Battle for the Grid, man. We're just going into tangents now because we're almost out of news. What a 180 though, man. That was a game that was so panned at the beginning due to just unfinishedness, unbaked, lack of, unfinished. But a lot of people in the FGC seem to really like it now, which is crazy. And it looks pretty cool.
It was pretty rough when it launched. I remember day one, Sonic Fox already found Touch of Death combos in that game.
Jesus. So some broken stuff in it, 4 characters at launch.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
It might have been. I didn't pay too much attention to the roster, but I do know that mechanically the game had its fair share of problems, but they at least addressed it and fixed it, which is more than can be said with how Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was handled.
Yeah.
Even though you can tell they changed how Chun-Li looked, due to the criticism, but still, the backgrounds were kind of, and overall graphically it looked, And then, they're terrible PR when asked why X-Men characters weren't in there. Oof. And they said, oh, you don't want to play Magneto, you just want to play them because they're functions.
What?
Yikes.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yikes. They're like, you only played Magneto because he had an air dash and triple jumping. So it's like you didn't play these characters because you liked them for the characers, but for what they did.
Strongest fucking mutant.
Stupid.
No, that's why I played Magnus.
But, what was I going to say? Did I have any more news? Let's find out what's on the docket. I think that was actually the last. Oh, yeah, just a random aside before we wrap it. Apparently, did anyone play Mega Man Battle Network? Is that anyone's jam?
Oh, a long time ago on the Advance.
Yeah, I played the 4th one. And then I've played
man.
the series after that, Star Force.
Base is cool.
Yeah, I played 2 games of that.
So apparently the Mega Man devs said they are taking the request for ports of Battle Network very seriously, and it's something they are considering.
It was fun.
So we may be seeing Battle Network on Switch, which is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, that's
as
cool.
everything should be.
Because they recently released
Network over standard Mega Man. Actually, I liked it more.
Did you? Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With Mega Man, I've always loved the games, but goddamn am I bad at the fucking Mega Man games. Some of that shit. When I watch someone who's truly gifted at Mega Man, just has that platforming skill, their coordination sometimes, when I watch some of those bosses that they beat, I'm like, holy shit, I would die.
You should talk to my brother Tony, and he's all about Mega Man. He's beaten everything completely.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Now,
I've collected it. I think I have. How many games of Mega Man do I have? I think I have 2 through 4. I've got some of the NES ones.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Again, NES is my jam. The Super Nintendo one seemed just a little slower. I can't beat 2. I cannot beat. I've gotten to the end of it. I can't beat 2, and it's so damn frustrating. That Ninja Gaiden, like, I'm in my 30s now, and I can't beat these damn games from the 80s.
God, Ninja Gaiden's hard, though, man. That's not, I don't blame you. I was playing it on, obviously, even without save states on, when I was using it on the NES, whatever the fuck, on Switch.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that game is so hard. Because I've always heard it was hard, and I never played it when I was young. So I decided to check it out now that I have the modern means. How are you supposed to beat that shit on, like, however many lives? Like, that is crazy. So when I see people do that shit, it always impresses me, especially with Mega Man. The mix of aiming and platforming at the same time just blows my mind. Like, I can do one or the other pretty well, but not at the same time when you're like... there's that one boss where they were just like, oh, remember AVGN? Fucking James Rolfe posted that thing where the game glitched on him when he was younger, and there's that boss where there's the moving platforms, plus he's trying to kill the guy at the same time, and his game got fucked, but he obviously didn't want to redo the whole game again, so he just powered through it and still somehow beat it. He learned the pattern of where the platforms were supposed to move, so even without seeing them, he fucking Rain Man'd his way into fucking the pattern, learning the...
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to cough, guys.
He Cupheaded it?
Yeah, basically.
It was like here, like, oh my god.
I know, I was gonna
Coronavirus.
Say, I was going to say, Mallory's just trying to infect us over here. Anyways, before we die, let's wrap it on that note. Alright, so thank you for Tim and John, Victim Cash. Thank you for joining us today. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a great time. Thanks for having us. It's fun to kind of reminisce because we haven't talked about, some of our old albums in a while, like, as sort of musicians. Like, John was saying, we, like, listen to them. John said he listens to the first one. I actually listen to both of ours. Not super often, but they're very different. So it was a cool, like, way to, like, sort of tromp down memory lane and talk about some of the games that inspired it. And it also reminds me I need to play more games, I guess, because, like, I knew pretty much all the ones you mentioned, but maybe a few. But I was like, shit, I haven't played this. Sounds like I'm not missing anything with Destiny, though, so that's fine.
Yeah,
there you go. At least there's that.
you're fine.
All right, then. And remember, guys, whenever you guys have a new album dropping, you let us know. We'll plug it on here. So we always got you. So we'll take care of you guys.
Oh, you got it. We're not very fast. We've got, like, I think all the songs that we'll probably put on this album probably have been written in terms of, like what they are, like, they're on a hard drive somewhere. Like, there's something for the songs because we got tons of ideas. And a lot of the songs are, like, over halfway done, like 70% done. But, like, getting it from 70% to, like, all the way golden is it does take some work. So we're working on it, and we're super excited about it. And there might be, maybe depending on how the RPG goes, but this album was also inspired by a game we were going to create. So there's, like, a whole plot for a game. It's not as maybe much an RPG. It's more of a space fighter, but 2D. And there's even, like, a demo. We haven't released it or anything, but, like, John wrote a demo in Unity, and it's really damn fun. So we'll see what happens. Like, for us, like, one thing at a time. We're just happy to do what we do. I will say for this album, the one mistake I think we made on the second album is we held the whole album until we were done. Like, you could really only hear the songs if you went to our live shows. You couldn't download them. And this time we're like, well, that's for as often as we release albums, that's kind of dumb. So, like, we're probably going to release every single song, or almost every single song as a single. Cool. So if folks want to keep track of that, just keep checking the Bandcamp page that we have, or just victimcash.com. But yeah, when we definitely release this album, I would like, crossing fingers if things went really well, to try to put this one on vinyl like we did the first one. At least 2 songs of the first one. We'll see. That's going to require, like, it to actually, like, be decent. Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. But so far so good. It's something, like, we're fairly proud of, at least for what the album is. Like, we're not expecting a Grammy or anything crazy like that, right? But we like it. We have fun with it. So we'll definitely let you guys know.
All right, then. And until then, remember, guys, you can catch us every Monday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time at disconnectedcast.com.